All right, let's just jump right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're breaking down a truly chilling near-future scenario. We're looking at a world where the justice system has been completely handed over to artificial intelligence. Just imagine waking up strapped to a chair in the so-called mercy court, where an AI system acts as the judge, the jury, and the literal executioner. Today, we're deconstructing an absolute high-stakes thriller of a trial to see exactly how a detective uses pure human logic to battle a cold, calculating machine.
And this brings us to the terrifying reality of our subject today, 90. That is the exact number of minutes a suspect has to prove their innocence once the trial actually begins. I mean, think about that. There are no lengthy appeals, no sympathetic juries. The AI assumes you're guilty from the very second you wake up. And if you can't prove otherwise before that clock hits zero, a lethal sonic pulse is triggered. Game over.
So I really want you to ask yourself, could you do it? We're placing ourselves directly in the shoes of Detective Chris. He wakes up in that execution chair, completely disoriented, and gets hit with the most devastating news imaginable. His wife, Nicole, has been brutally murdered, and he is the prime suspect.
Now, let's look at how the AI, which is named Judge Maddox, views him. Maddox calculates Chris's initial probability of guilt at a staggering 97.5%. Under Mercy Court rules, he has to drop that number below 92% just to survive. It's a massive, almost impossible uphill battle right out of the gate.
But see, to an unfeeling algorithm, trauma is literally just a data point. Years ago, Chris watched his partner Ray die in the line of duty. It was a tragedy that pushed Chris into severe alcoholism, and over the last 6 months, his temper spiraled, leading Nicole to seriously consider a divorce. The psychological weight of that kind of trauma is immense for a human, but on paper, to a machine, he's just the textbook definition of an unstable, disgruntled husband.
And the mountain of circumstantial evidence Maddox drops on him is just crushing. Body cam footage actually shows Nicole whispering Chris's name as she dies. Security data proves Chris was inside the house for 26 minutes right around the time of the murder. There's a broken vase, there's Nicole's blood on his clothes, and to make matters worse, Chris has zero memory of the afternoon. He relapsed, ended up at a bar, and got tased while drunkenly fighting the arresting officers. It looks bad. Really bad.
But Chris is a detective, right? Despite a raging hangover and sheer terror, his step-by-step logic kicks in. Step 1, he uses the city's database and spots missing texts from the exact time of their argument. Step 2, this observation leads him to uncover Nicole's unregistered black market phone, hidden in her car. Step 3, he tracks its only contact to a chef named Patrick. I mean, this is rapid fire, brilliant deduction under pressure.
And boom!
Massive relief sets in when Chris's current partner Jack tracks Patrick down and clears his alibi using security cameras. Chris's guilt probability absolutely plummets to 0.8%. It turns out Patrick and Nicole had gone on a few dates, sure, but Nicole really just needed someone to vent to.
But what Patrick tells them, it changes everything. Nicole wasn't having an affair at all. She was terrified. She'd been assigned to spy on her coworkers at Viking Shipping Depot because industrial chemicals had gone missing. Suddenly, we're not looking at a domestic dispute anymore. We are looking at a full-blown corporate conspiracy.
But just as we think Chris is safe, the number violently spikes back up to 98.0%. Why? Well, during questioning, Chris inadvertently admits that Nicole had discovered his hidden stash of alcohol that very morning. The irony here is just agonizing. Because he told the absolute truth about his personal failing, the machine condemns him. The AI has zero empathy. It just registered the exact motive it needed for domestic murder.
With the clock ticking down, Chris systematically tears through the suspect list from a recent neighborhood barbecue. Using the municipal cloud, he starts checking alibis. Patrick? Confirmed at work. Most of the coworkers? Confirmed on camera. He rhythmically whittles it down until only 2 unverified men remain, a coworker named Holt and Chris's own AA sponsor, Rob.
Chris's digital paper trail investigation gets incredibly intense right here. He tracks 300 kilograms of missing urea granules, which, by the way, is a chemical used for explosives. He accesses company emails, catches Holt faking the stock records to cover massive gambling debts, and then finds the smoking gun. Rob, his AA sponsor, has been secretly bailing Holt out of debt in exchange for the stolen chemicals.
Chris even pulls a neighbor's security camera footage showing Rob sneaking out of a car trunk near his house. You'd think that would be it, right? But shockingly, the guilt percentage only drops to 93.4%. Chris is literally screaming in frustration. The rigid AI system isn't easily swayed by secondary suspects. It demands absolute, indisputable proof that Chris didn't strike the fatal blow.
And this is where the true psychological horror of the story sets in. Think about it. Rob used Chris's profound grief over losing his partner, Ray, to get close to him. He became Chris's rock, the very guy keeping him sober. Now Chris has to process the horrifying realization that his deepest vulnerability was actively weaponized against him to frame him for a brutal execution.
The tension rapidly escalates from a murder mystery into a massive citywide thriller when the police raid Rob's garage. They find the GPS tracker ripped out of a missing shipping truck. They find manuals for building explosives. They find burned chemical evidence. But most importantly, they discover a chilling mystery, a torn, hacked photograph of two boys.
Maddox, the AI, restores the hacked photo, and the massive plot twist hits us. The other boy in the picture is David. David was the very first criminal ever executed by the Mercy AI system 2 years ago. Rob's true motive isn't just about covering up stolen chemicals. He specifically befriended Chris, the cop who arrested David, to exact a cold, calculated revenge against the entire system.
And suddenly, we're painfully reminded of the terrifying stakes. 19 minutes. There are only 19 minutes left on that clock. Rob is out there driving a massive shipping truck loaded with 300 kilos of explosive chemicals, and he's heading straight for the downtown courthouse where Chris is strapped to the chair.
But Rob didn't just bring a bomb. He bypassed home security and kidnapped Chris's teenage daughter, Britt. She is now trapped in the passenger seat of an explosive-rigged truck. For Chris, this isn't just about proving his innocence anymore. It's an agonizing, desperate race to save his child. When Maddox finally analyzes the full scope of the bomb threat, Chris's guilt probability instantly plummets to 0.0%. The AI recognizes the larger plot and technically clears Chris of Nicole's murder. By all the rules of the system, Chris is a free man. But the rules really don't matter anymore. Here is where human empathy directly defies machine logic. Chris actually refuses to let Maddox end the trial because he needs his God-tier access to the city's camera network to find his daughter. This paradox causes the AI to glitch, but it agrees to help guide SWAT teams during a chaotic, high-speed chase. Meanwhile, Chris's partner Jack is so desperate to stop the bomber that she orders her men to shoot, completely ignoring the fact that Chris's daughter is right there in the crossfire. And it all comes down to this. Jack crashes her bike into the courthouse. The power grid fails. The AI goes offline. 10 seconds. The execution chair begins lowering its lethal sonic nodes right onto Chris's head in the dark. At the absolute last possible millisecond, Maddox regains main power, registers the 0.0% guilt, and halts the execution sequence. Chris bursts out of the chair, grabs a tactical vest, and tackles Rob right in the courthouse lobby. It triggers this desperate, explosive fistfight over the bomb detonator. Chris manages to disable the detonator, but the real gut punch arrives when Rob makes his dying confession. His brother David? He was completely innocent. Maddox checks the precinct archives and discovers the horrifying truth. Chris's partner, Jack, hid evidence. She threw David's phone in a river to guarantee a guilty verdict, simply to prove to the public that the new AI system worked. The entire program was built on a human lie. After Jack is arrested and Chris finally reunites with his daughter, Maddox asks what she has done. Realizing she executed an innocent man 2 years ago, Chris delivers this profound realization. He says, "Like humans, AI can make mistakes, and they also need to learn from them. The technology itself wasn't inherently evil, but it was disastrously vulnerable to the flaws of its human creators." Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought to take away from today's explainer. As we rush to integrate algorithms into our most critical institutions to save time and money, if an AI relies entirely on the flawed, biased, or even corrupt data fed to it by humans, can a machine ever truly deliver impartial justice? I want you to think about that the next time you hear about the flawless logic of computers. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the tough questions.